On today's ChurchTechCast Q and A show, video switcher, text color, and web design. Hi everyone, and welcome again to another episode of the ChurchTechCast Q and A show. My name is Paul Allen Clifford, and I'm your host, and I'd love for you to ask your questions. So head on over to trinitydigitalmedia.com/contact. There you can ask your questions or find all my contact information. I won't bore you with the details. Or you can always leave your questions or comments below the video. That is perfectly acceptable, and I'd love to answer them in an upcoming show. If you're not live with me right now in the chat, which we're wide open, this show records live every Friday at 11 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific on ChurchTechCast.com, and you can interact at that time and get your questions answered, and I'd love to have you. This show is all about answering your church tech questions, and if I don't know the answer, which I don't know everything, so if I don't know the answer, I'll find someone that does. I have plenty of resources in that department. But if you do have a question that I can answer, I'm happy to answer it immediately during the show, and these shows are recorded and saved for later. So, without further ado, let's get going with the very first question. And the first question comes from the churchmedia.net forum, and this is from JL Harper 59, who asks, "We are about to begin looking in earnest for a video switch to use in our services. Basically to overlay song lyrics and scripture on live video. What has been brought up is possible video lag, that the image displayed through the switch can lag behind the live action enough to be distracting. My thoughts are that through a digital switcher you would not have this, as has been experienced in the past with a very simple camera capture through ProPresenter. However, before we lay down significant money to move in this direction, we need to research. Our setup should begin with 2 digital cameras via SDI and ProPresenter from a Mac. Any thoughts on possible lag?" Okay. The right way to do this is to have gin-lockable cameras and do this with a high-end switcher. It sounds to me, though, like you don't have the budget for that. So let's talk about what you can get away with. Because I know that for churches, finances are a big issue, and the ATEM television studio, which I've gotten a chance to play with a little bit more in the last week, it has a total of 6 inputs. 2 are always HDMI, 2 are always HDSDI, and 2 can be either HDMI or HDSDI. So you have a total of 6 inputs there, which sounds like it would be fine for what you're dealing with. I think what I would do is do the 2 cameras SDI and then the Mac HDMI, and you should be fine. There will be some processing and lag time. You're right, it's going to be a lot less than what you've experienced through a capture card going into ProPresenter. So I think that what I would do is, I think the cameras are going to remain constant. I think the Mac is going to remain constant. I think I would rent or borrow an ATEM television studio and try it out. Now here is what I would do to see exactly what you're dealing with. Is I would have a countdown timer running through ProPresenter, and I would compare something coming directly out of ProPresenter on a monitor and something going through the switcher and on the screens, and use a still camera to take a picture of both at the same time and compare your lag time. As long as your lag time is about 3 frames or less, you should be fine. I think you're going to be fine. Again, this isn't the ideal setup, but what you want to do is you want to minimize any processing that you can do in the process, right? So, if possible, get cameras that come out SDI. I wouldn't necessarily recommend HDMI cameras because unless they're right there by the television studio, they are going to need something to get them a long distance, because the foolish HDMI people think that a long cable run is 10 meters. 10 meters, about 10 yards, actually about 32, 33 feet. So that's not very far whatsoever. So, and HDMI is buggy, where you can put the computer right by the television studio, the ATEM TVS, you called it, the television studio. You can put that right by the computer, no problem, and have a very short cable that will probably be fine. Running cameras that distance would be iffy. Now you can absolutely convert those, but every time you do a conversion, you're adding the potential for more latency. So in my own church a few years ago, we upgraded to a Grass Valley switcher that took SDI in. Well, we didn't have SDI cameras, so what we did was we converted our analog cameras to SDI, and and in doing so, we added about 2 frames of latency, which by themselves not so bad. But the switcher also added about 1.5 frames, 2 frames of latency. So when it got to 4 frames, it started to get a little annoying, and our executive pastor, who has a little bit of television background, noticed, and the senior pastor, who just has an eye towards technology, noticed. So therefore, it was too much. So we had to go back to analog. With the ATEM television studio, you don't have that as an option to go back to analog. So I would absolutely test it out with the full cable runs and see if you can get away with it. It's not the best video switcher that you can use in the world, but I think that it might be adequate for what you're using it for, and it might be future-proof for the next few years. So I think I would recommend that before I recommended going with something really low-end that could be replaced in 6 months or a year. So keep that in mind. That's just something that I want you to keep in mind. Next, Rich Design says, I'm fairly new to ProPresenter 5, 6 months or so. One issue that I have yet to settle on is text color. We have been using a standard graphic for song text. I make sure that white text looked okay on the design before we finalized it. But the issues is, I think we've got a typo there, but the issue I'm thinking is what he means, is that you can't read text on the slides if you use black text, since the background color is black, since your graphic only shows up on the first slide. Okay, that's a sentence I'm having trouble with, but that's okay. Making the background color something other than black seemed to cause problems. Putting the background slide on every slide caused problems. I contacted ProPresenter 5 support, and I was surprised that they didn't really have an answer for me. I need to be able to read the text on the slides before they come up, so what is the solution? Am I missing something obvious? Seemed like you should be able to turn off the background color on the preview on a song-by-song basis as needed and have a light color instead. Okay, so what I'm confused about is you said that you've made the background so that white text shows up, and then you immediately say that black text doesn't show up. So if the background looks good with white text on a black background should be fine. So there's a disconnect there. Maybe that's just, you wrote it late at night or something. I don't know. So that's the first question I have. Secondly, I would turn on the outline of the text and use a contrasting color. That's definitely going to help you. So if you have black text on the default black background in ProPresenter 5, you can turn on a white outline on the text, and that should help it pop away from the background. So that's probably what I would do. Don't think that a drop shadow will do it, because that will be, if you're only seeing the drop shadow, that's a problem. But if you're only seeing the outline, you can make out all the letters. I think that there's a communication problem in the question, but you can change the background color on all these slides. I want to know what the problem is that is caused by this. We had an issue in one of the ministries at my church where they had a very light, girly-looking, like light green, natural, springy-looking background slide. And in order to make that work, I did put the background slide on each of the lyrics slides, and it worked fine. So I don't know what the problem is there. So I guess my solution would be, first, if white text looks good on your background slide, I don't know why all of a sudden the text is black on subsequent slides. Secondly, if you just wrote that wrong, that black text looked good on the background slide, then I think I would put a white outline on it. I would also, I think I would reconsider a light background, because your eye is attracted to the lighter colors, and try and mute the background and use lighter text so that your eye is more attracted to the text, which is the point. It's not the point to say, yes, let's look at this background slide over and over and over again. The point is that the background slide should fade to the background. Even if you have a foreground slide that is, it starts the song bright and then it dims, that's another possibility. But I think that there's something going on here that I'm not understanding in your question. So I think that you can absolutely do this. I think that there's just a problem, and someone suggested a band of color. I don't think that's necessary. That's a possibility, but I think that there's something in the communication of the question. So let's talk a little bit more about that. Okay, Francis Daniel says, "Hi everyone, hope you're all doing good. Me and my friends are developing our church's website, and I would appreciate it if any of you can give suggestions on what needs to be changed, etc. Any input is much appreciated. Thanks all. Please open tbc.org. So I go to tbc.org, and first I'm noticing that the slideshow here, first the design looks great. I think the design, it's a kind of a flat design. It does some great things. The only thing I'm noticing right now, well, there's two things. First, I'm noticing that the text overlaid on the slideshow is too light for what you're doing. It's difficult to read. Secondly, the pictures in the slideshow do not adhere to the rule of thirds. So, the most important thing in the frame sometimes is in the middle of the frame, it's sometimes on the top third of the frame, and it's sometimes on the bottom third of the frame. The top third and bottom third are less of an issue, but the middle piece, I don't get that. So I think I would tweak each of those photos. The fact that the time seems to flash as you go down in the middle three locations underneath the slideshow, that seems problematic to me. I think that the Twitter and Facebook logos are way too prominent. Yeah, and there's a Jacksonville Jaguars. I think that's Jacksonville. Yes, Jacksonville Jaguars logo. To me, that doesn't make any sense. So, I think, yeah, it looks like you have Facebook, Twitter, current sermon series, and small groups. I think I would do current sermon series, small groups, leave out Facebook and Twitter, make those smaller, maybe near the top, and go from there. About us, it seems like I think I would stick with a single About Us slide. Locations make sense to me, in the menu I'm talking, and media. Yeah, I think what I would do is these in the as you're going through the navigation, there's a list of sub pages, and if you click on the main page, so if you click on About Us, that doesn't take you anywhere. If you click on Location, that doesn't take you anywhere. If you click on Media, that doesn't take you anywhere. But if you click on Give, the fourth one, that does in fact take you somewhere. Next, I'm noticing that the navigation, these are not human readable. So when I clicked on Give, I expected to see, like, at most pages/give, but I've got pages/page.asp page_ID equals 320086. Yeah, that doesn't make sense. You need to change that. I'm not a big fan of using Microsoft servers when it comes to websites, but you know, it is what it is. In the footer, it's really difficult to read all the stuff in the footer. The About Us, the About Us in the footer doesn't lead to anywhere. The locations in the footer doesn't lead to anywhere. Media in the footer doesn't lead to anywhere, and there is no indication that you should go to a subpage, so those are really wasted. The email address news@tbc.org, that's not a good email address. I assume that you mean that if you wanted to contact them, you should use news@tbc.org. That should really be contact us at tbc.org or info, something. News seems to me that that's where you would get a newsletter from, not that's who you email, unless you have news that you want to share. So I think that's an issue as well. But overall, I like the design. I think it's great. It's particularly great that you've got the three-letter domain name, TBC, Trinity Baptist Church. That's a great domain name. It's easy to remember, and also there are just a few things that I think really need some tweaking. Let's go to, I'm just doing a quick search here because there is a search box. That's always worth doing. Okay, so here's the deal. You've got a couple of sample pages, but yeah, there's no way to get to the children's ministry page unless you search. There's no way to get to a youth ministry page. So any of the age group ministries, which it looks like you have some, you can't really get to without searching. So maybe it's underneath the individual locations, but yeah, so it looks like it's underneath the individual locations ish. Like there's no link, it just has a couple of sentences. So that's a place that needs some work. So that's what I'd say. Otherwise, I love the design. I just think that there are some structural issues that need to be ironed out. So if you have any questions that you'd love for me to answer, make sure you head on over to Trinity Digital Media. No relation to this Trinity Baptist Church, by the way. TrinityDigitalMedia.com/contact, and you can find all my contact information there. Paul at TrinityDigitalMedia.com is one of those email addresses that, since my name is Paul and I own TrinityDigitalMedia.com, you might have guessed that that's a good way to reach me. It is. You can also head over to Twitter, Paul Allen Cliff, PaulAlanclif, and you can just hit me up over there. I've got over 45,000 followers now, so please join me in doing that. That's just wonderful. It's a wonderful way of reaching me. If you'd like to make a phone call, 1-877-POD-ECHO, 1-877-763-3246 is also a good way to interact with me. If you'd like to support the show, head over to patreon.com/PaulAllenCliff, patreon.com/PaulAllenCliff, and help for as little as $1 a month or on up. You can help me and this network change lives and eternities. Also, this show is generously provided for by my latest book, Church Video School. If you go to TrinityDigitalMedia.com/Church Video School, there's a couple of days left on the introductory price of $14.97 from the publisher. It's published by Church Mag Press, and so they're keeping the price low at the beginning, and then it's cranking on up to $19.97. So on September 1st, 2014, that's what it's going to be. So don't say I didn't warn you. Remember, TrinityDigitalMedia.com/CVS for Church Video School. Okay? That's how you can get your copy of that. And if you're technical and so you've been tapped to do the video at your church, but you don't really have a strong video background, this book is for you. It's also great for new volunteers at your church that don't have a video background. It gives them a framework to discuss things, to talk about composition, to talk about how the cameras and switcher are connected, what a switcher does, all those basic things that you really need to know if you're going to do video. So head on over and grab a copy of that today. So, how about you? Do you have any questions or comments that you'd like to share? Make sure you head over. If you like content like this, I don't know why you haven't subscribed if you haven't, because it's free and you'll get alerted immediately when I have new shows like this one, which I will get edited and put up today, which is Friday, August 29th, 2014, and I hope that all these answers and others will help you and your church as you're going out and changing eternity. Until next time, this is Paul Allen Clifford with TrinityDigitalMedia.com.